So many people are affected by years and years of student debt in a job market that doesn't support them paying off their student loans. That really hinders the social progress of so many American families. The fact that Joe Biden wants to forgive student debts is something I'm excited about voting for him. I think under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, there will be increased opportunities for higher education, more opportunities for people to advance themselves. That's why I'm with Biden and Harris.
Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, so I actually had a chance to watch an argument or a debate, whatever you want to call it, play out in real time in the chat. It was interesting watching both sides go back and forth. Kamala Harris is once again promising, like Joe Biden did, to give relief to student debt. I think it's interesting the way they word it, because during the 2020 campaign, I remember Biden saying that he was going to do debt forgiveness for all student debt. Well, later on, after he was elected, it changed to, well, I'm only going to give forgiveness up to $10,000 per student. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's not what you said. That's not what you said at all. I came across this post here from Kamala Harris. Federal student loan debt has weighed heavy on our nation, preventing people from starting a family, buying a home, and starting a small business. Today, the president announced our administration will cancel $10,000 in federal student loan debt for millions of Americans. Well, don't get me wrong, $10,000 is a major help, but that's not what you said. You literally promised everybody all debt forgiveness. And when I heard that during the campaign, I said to myself, they can't do that. The president cannot just pull a wand out of his butt and forgive all debt. I made that argument and said this is a lot of what the Democrats do, not to get political here, but they do this often. They make these promises. They do it in such a way where you have an impression of one thing, and then once they're in office, that changes. I just showed you that video of the gentleman saying that they're going to forgive student debt, not student debt up to $10,000. Do you see how the commercial is misleading? The impression is your student debt is going to be forgiven. The Biden campaign promise before he was elected was all student debt. After he came into office, as usual, he will change the story. They do this often, you guys. Don't fall for this. I just want to give everybody a quick reminder. You can go over to Pimpy's News Network. It is free for everybody. All right? Everybody has access to the videos that are on the website. I'm going to keep it free as long as possible. Just keep in mind that it does cost money to maintain. So I would appreciate it if you can afford it when you come to sign in, that you choose one of these plans. You don't have to. Again, it's free. But this will help with the cost of the website. So if you can afford it, please choose the plan. And that money goes to maintaining the website. But if you can't afford it, look, all the videos are free. There is another way in which you can assist, and that is when you go to my YouTube channel, just watch 2 or 3 or 4 videos, let them go all the way through. That helps out the channel as well. So it doesn't cost you anything, still free. All you have to do is just watch videos. This website, Pimpy's News Network, it is free to you as well, but if you can select a plan and you feel like donating, every little bit helps with maintaining the website. I appreciate it. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. I think it's funny because after Biden was elected, right after he was elected, we heard from Nancy Pelosi in regards to the student loan debt forgiveness.
Here's the thing. People think that the President of the United States, is this more on the subject than you ever want to know? Well, you'll let me know. People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. And I don't even like to call it forgiveness because that implies a transgression. It's not to be forgiven. Just freeing people from those obligations. So the question of who gets forgiven, to use the term of art that is out there, is a debate. Do we use whatever money there is for the broadest base of support of those with more people with even less debt or fewer people with more debt? That's a policy discussion. But the difference between the president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion. Not everybody realizes that, but the president can only postpone, delay, but not forgive.
Wait a minute. What do you mean people get the impression that the president can do debt forgiveness? Well, where did they get that impression from? Could it be because Biden made a promise of debt forgiveness? They don't want to change to debt relief. There's a difference. Debt forgiveness is all the debt. Debt relief is when they do part of it. But that's not what he did. He promised full debt forgiveness. But as soon as he got in office, then we hear Pelosi say this. Why didn't she step out and say this before the election to let people know the truth? It's just sneaky when they do things like that. Let's continue.
Joe Biden has been elected as our next president, and one campaign platform he ran on was student debt loan forgiveness. Temple students with debt are now hoping to see him prioritize this plan.
He made it part of his campaign. It was one of his promises, so I hope he keeps that promise.
According to a 2019 to 2020 report, Temple students' average loan amount was $4,260, not including those that were privately obtained. 57% of undergraduate students were also given need-based loans.
Now that Joe Biden has been elected president, I definitely think that the probability of a student loan bailout is increasing to an extent. However, I do not see it as something that is probable in any shape or form.
The executive director for Student Loan Servicing Alliance says, even with the bailout, there's always going to be a need for loans in order to provide students with choices.
Loans are going to continue to play an important role for offering options and access for lots of families in the country.
Buchanan says it is important to consider the real problem, why secondary education in America is so expensive in the first place.
It's more of a symptom, right, of a problem that we ought to be considering, which is what is the cost of college? Are people getting value out of higher education that is worth that cost of college?
So there's a more broader issue with student loans. Not only did I teach college for 7 years and spoke with students as time went on about their debt, I also went to school for many years, obtaining all the degrees that I have. Here's what they're not telling you when you go into the student loan office. What the counselors, when you go in there to talk to them about attending college, what they should be doing is making a strong emphasis on the reality of having student loan debt. They don't do that because they don't want to scare you off. As a matter of fact, they encourage you to incur more debt. What I mean by that is your loan is guaranteed, and then you get grants. Instead of using the grants to go towards your student loan, they encourage you to take more student loan out and use the grants to live on. So you have free money every 3 months. That's what they were doing while I was attending school. People not realizing that you're going to have a huge student loan payment at the end of all this. When I was teaching college, what they were telling their students were, come here, get your education. You're going to get a great job. We guarantee it. We're going to help you get that job. And it's going to pay off that student loan in no time. The colleges were lying, and they've been sued up the yin-yang. What they should be doing is sitting down and saying, look, let's calculate the overall expenses that I will occur at the end of all this. What is the total amount of debt with interest and everything else am I going to start to pay once I graduate? Take a look at that number. Figure out what your monthly payments are going to be from there, and then figure out what kind of job you're going to need to have and how much you should be earning per month to not only afford that student loan payment, but also the cost of rent or paying off home payments or car loans and all the other expenses that come along with it. That's what they should be doing, but they don't do that. Their job is to get you into the college and starting your education. and they promise you that you will get a great job and you'll be able to pay off your student loan.
Some activists say the proposals he's looking at now don't measure up to the promises he made on the campaign trail. One viral tweet reads, quote, "Biden ran on canceling all your federal student debt if you went to an HBCU or public college and make under $125,000. Let's verify. When he was running for president, did Joe Biden propose forgiving all federal student debt for borrowers who attended public or historically black colleges and have annual incomes below $125,000? Our sources, a post on Medium by then candidate Biden, the Democratic Party, and video from a town hall held in Miami a month before the election. In April of 2020, Biden wrote a blog post about his ideas for helping out folks struggling in the pandemic economy. One of those ideas, quote, "I propose to forgive all undergraduate tuition-related federal student debt from 2- and 4-year public colleges for debt holders earning up to $125,000. He said this would also apply to HBCUs and MSIs, minority-serving institutions. The same language appeared in the official Democratic Party platform, which was approved at the 2020 Democratic National Convention. And then, during an NBC town hall in October of 2020, Biden referenced a version of the same plan when answering a question about the economic obstacles facing young people.
That's why I'm going to eliminate a lot of your student debt if you, in fact, if you come from a family less than 125 grand and you went to a public university.
So we can verify, yes, when he was running for president, Joe Biden proposed forgiving all federal student debt for borrowers who attended public or historically black colleges and have annual incomes below $125,000.
So during that chat, that's what I was telling him. Look, no, Biden absolutely promised all debt forgiveness. Later on, he only offered them debt relief. Huge difference between the two. That's why whenever you're dealing with a future candidate to be president, you have to pay attention to the types of promises they are making. What you have to do is your own research. And a lot of people don't have the time or don't even know to do this. That's why politics suck. That's why you have to really be involved, because you have to look at these promises that they're making to find out if they can actually do this. Look, Nancy Pelosi knew ahead of time that Joe Biden could not do debt forgiveness, but she didn't say anything until after he was elected. And then what they do is they try to throw you a bone saying, here, you can have forgiveness up to $10,000. There you go. Something's better than nothing. No, that's not the point. The commercials that came out, the town hall meetings, all students were under the impression that all of their debt would be forgiven. That wasn't the case. That was a lie. Now you see Kamala Harris doing the same thing during this campaign, so be careful. She said, I don't feel like we've done enough to help those with student loan debt out. I think we need to find a way to forgive their debt. Forgive the debt. That's all of it. She's implying that she's going to be able to forgive all of the debt. Now, here's the kicker. When I heard Biden said that, I damn near fell out of my chair. I was like, why is Biden offering student loan forgiveness when he is the man behind the 2005 Bankruptcy, Abuse Prevention, and Consumer Protection Act? Now, the thing that's interesting about this particular bill of Biden's, he was not supported by his own Democratic Party. Biden had to turn to Republicans to get this bill passed. The Bankruptcy, Abuse Prevention, and Consumer Protection Act. This was done in 2005, primarily aimed at reforming the bankruptcy process in the United States. The law introduced several significant changes to consumer bankruptcy laws, making it more challenging for individuals to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and increasing the requirements for filing under Chapter 13. The intent behind the BAPCPA was to reduce perceived abuses of the bankruptcy system, particularly by those who could afford to pay back their debts. Well, I mean, come on. Biden comes from Delaware, and Delaware is where most of these credit card companies are at. People from the credit card companies were getting their asses handed to them because people just filed for bankruptcy and write the debt off that way. So they bugged Biden and said, look, can you help us? And he said, yeah, let's go for this 2005 Bankruptcy, Abuse Prevention, and Consumer Protection. In other words, Biden's bill that was supported by the Republicans made it harder for you to file for bankruptcy. As a matter of fact, it made it almost impossible for people to file for bankruptcy. And one of those things in there that's exempt from bankruptcy is your student loan debt. Yeah, that's Biden's bill. Key provisions: stricter eligibility for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The BAPA CPA made it more challenging for individuals to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which allows for the discharge of most unsecured debts. They increased the waiting periods between filing. The waiting period for filing another Chapter 7 bankruptcy after receiving a discharge was extended from 6 years to 8 years. Mandatory credit counseling, which caused huge delays for people going through bankruptcy. Individuals must complete credit counseling from an approved agency within 180 days after filing for bankruptcy. This requirement aims to ensure that debtors consider alternative before proceeding with bankruptcy. Changes in dischargeability rules. The Act extended exceptions regarding what debts could be discharged from bankruptcy, particularly concerning credit card debts incurred shortly before filing and certain student loans. So in other words, you can't get a bunch of credit cards and then run it up and then all of a sudden file for bankruptcy. So I get that part, but over here where it says, and certain student loan debts. So you see, so this particular Biden law that was passed makes it almost impossible for you to write off your student loan debt. And then there's other things that come with it. So if Biden was the president along with Kamala Harris, why didn't they do anything then to help with this student loan debt? Why didn't they just simply go in there and have Biden's law changed? Well, reversing or amending a significant piece of legislation like the BAPCPA requires a complex legislative process that involves both houses of Congress. President Biden's administration has prioritized other issues such as healthcare, climate change, and economic recovery from the RONA. Given the pressing issues, there may not be sufficient political capital or urgency to focus on bankruptcy reform. Well, wait, one of his campaign promises was debt forgiveness. And since he can't offer debt forgiveness, one of the things he can do is reverse the law that he put into place in 2005 that makes it almost impossible for people to bankrupt off their student loan debt. But as you can see, it's not that simple. The current political landscape is highly polarized. Any attempt to reverse the BAPCPA will likely face substantial opposition from Republican lawmakers who generally support stricter bankruptcy laws as a means of protecting creditors. This partisan divide makes it difficult for any administration to push through significant reforms without bipartisan support. This is true because of the political bickering that we have going on. No party wants to give another party a win, so to speak. So if Biden's in office and he's pushing for this BAPCPA to be reversed or changed in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to see Republicans agree to that because they're not going to do anything to help Biden's administration look good. Just like when Trump tried to do it, they weren't going to do anything to help Trump look good. Where we come in is when you press on your representatives really hard and you make that a priority of theirs to fix. So not just Democrats, but Republicans. You get in there and you jump all over the asses of your representatives, telling them, hey, we want this changed. They'll do it, okay? But if you just leave it up to them, that's not going to happen. So potential alternatives. Rather than outright reversing the BAPCPA, there may be discussions around introducing new legislation that addresses specific concerns within the existing framework without dismantling it entirely. Yeah, you don't have to reverse the entire law. Fine, let credit card companies have their protections. But what they can do is change certain parts of the framework. They should ease up on those individuals with student loans. And one of the things they could do is the very next thing, judicial interpretation and implementation. So the Biden or any other administration might prefer to allow the judges to make their own decisions on which cases to allow the bankruptcies of student loans. In other words, the judges are there, they see all the paperwork, they see what's going on, they're talking to the individuals. You should leave it up to them on which ones can and cannot pay back this debt. If they are sitting there with an individual they can see cannot clearly pay the debt off, then allow them to discharge the debt. So yeah, just changing some of the restrictions they have on student loan debt can help in a big way. You don't have to change the entire law, you don't have to scrap the entire law, but you can change the framework of the law to make it easier for people with student loan debt to go ahead and seek total forgiveness in bankruptcy. So I hope that squares away a lot of this arguing back and forth. But also, you guys really need to pay attention to your candidates' promises. I don't give a crap which side, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. This happens all the time. They make promises that they know they can't keep. So you need to hold them accountable. If they're running for re-election, then you need to say, you know what? You promised me 30 things, but you've only kept 5 of those promises. That's not okay. It's time for new representation. That just means maybe you need to change to a different candidate within your political party. Anyways, that's it for now. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll talk to you later. I'm out.